athleticism from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
What's going on, everybody, for this Saturday afternoon of September 2nd, 2023? You are checking out a special edition of the RCWR Show. Yeah, you know what time it is. For those of you that are longtime subscribers, your followers of the show, the content and everything, you all know that anytime you see me on a Saturday, hours before a pay-per-view, it don't hit the fan. And we've got a big one here. Since last I was on the air with you guys, which was just a little over 48 hours ago, breaking news as it apparently went down, I would say within the last, it feels like maybe 2 hours ago, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was maybe somewhere between 3 to 4 hours ago. But either way, it's still breaking news. Phil Brooks, the man you know as CM Punk, has been fired by AEW. More specifically, he has been fired by Tony Khan. No more. And I find this so, not necessarily surreal, but surprising, as I honestly did not think that Tony Khan had it in him. Now, we're going to go a little bit all over the place with this firing, try to make sense out of it, particularly for the younger listeners that's out there, because full disclosure, I think full context is very, very important. Furthermore, I think that for those that have their own respected business, they are their own entrepreneur, I think a lot of what I'm going to get ready to say in regards to CM Punk's firing is going to make a lot of sense to folks. And if at the end of the day you don't agree with some of the things that I have to say, at least you'll have a really better understanding out of everything that I'm about to spew at you guys. It's going to be hard. It's going to be fast. I hope you're going to be able to stay with me. Now, I've got to mention this at the top, because I think before the news had even went down on our Wednesday show, if you look at the thumbnail for it, I said, CM Punk, ... it's time to leave AEW. And so we had people that did not, and you can tell who's actually checking out the clip, who's actually listening to the show, who's actually listening to the full context of what all was said on there. Because some of the comments that came in within the past 24 hours was, CM Punk hater, that was at the top of the list. Oh, you're just worst form of clickbaiting ever. And if people had actually took the time and actually listened to that show, they would have found out, hardcore CM Punk fan, and for those that have not checked it out, yes, I'm a hardcore CM Punk fan, to the point I actually met the man. I met the man in person. My God, it feels like now it was about maybe 5, 6, almost 7 years ago. Me and my wife, we had saved up about almost close to $3,000 just so I would be able to not just return to my hometown of Chicago, Illinois, which I hadn't been back there in over 25 years, but I went out there specifically to meet one of my wrestling idols in CM Punk. Had a nice exchange with him, very personable, all of that. So I think that's very important to mention. And also, you can't see it, but there's a WWE Championship belt that it's in its little respected sleeve case. CM Punk autographed that. For those of you that can see the webcast background, you'll see that there's a bunch of wrestling photos, autographs. A lot of folks that I met in person. CM Punk is on this very wall. He is in between Jim Ross and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Full context. I think that's very important to mention because, again, some of you are not going to like what I have to say in regards to the firing of CM Punk. There's going to be some of you that's going to agree with what I'm about to say. There's going to be those of you that aren't going to agree. But hopefully those of you that disagree will be able to have a nice, healthy, and friendly back and forth of dialogue. So let's rewind this back. Just last weekend, we had AEW, Tony Khan and crew, celebrating one of the most historic moments for the company. Wembley Stadium, all in. They had about 80,000 plus fans in attendance. This was a record-setting number. This was a big deal for AEW. If you're a wrestling fan, if you're an AEW fan, this was a great moment for you and for the company. Hell, this was great for the sport of professional wrestling, folks. And sadly, that got overshadowed by this news about CM Punk and Jungle Boy Jack Perry getting into some type of a altercation. And you had one story that was floating around where there were some words that was exchanged, and the next thing you know, CM Punk allegedly put Jack Perry in some type of a headlock, wouldn't let it go, was trying to put this guy to sleep like Hulk Hogan did to veteran actor Richard Belzer back in the day, of which Richard Belzer actually had won a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Shout out if you know your history on that, the story of that. Then you had another story that has said, no, that's actually not even what happened. Yeah, there was some type of a verbal altercation between these two, and CM Punk grabbed Jungle Boy by the throat. He was trying to choke him out right then and there on the spot. Speaking of spot, this all was basically a result of Jungle Boy, his match with Hook. There was an insane little spot there where you had a car. Jack Perry looks at the car, he looks at the windshield, looks right at the camera, and says, "Look, real glass, cry me a river." Many people had took this as a shot being sent to CM Punk. You had a bunch of folks that said to Hook leading up to this match, because he was toying with the idea of doing a glass spot, going through real glass. You had a lot of people say, "Dude, what are you thinking? Are you crazy?" No, there's no need to do that. No, you're crazy. No need to do that. But he was very insistent. CM Punk apparently tried to talk some sense into this kid. Obviously, it fell on deaf ears because he still wanted to do the damn spot, and with the spot, he went on ahead and did it anyway. I talked about this on the Wednesday show. You can go back and you can listen to it. I pretty much started talking about it right at around the 50-minute mark, but just to give bullet points in regards to that, I said, hey, if you're the veteran in CM Punk, who has seen a lot in his respected wrestling career, if you're the 44-year-old from Chicago, Illinois, you're going to look at this with Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Okay, you're going to do your own thing. That's fine. Okay, I see how it goes. Well, tell you what I'm going to do quietly. I'm just going to pick up the phone and I'm going to give Tony Khan a call, and I'm going to let him know that Jack Perry kid, you can have him go to ROH. You can have him go to Collision. Actually, scratch Collision. You can have him go to ROH. You can have him go to Rampage. You can have him go to Dynamite. But as far as my show goes, Collision, no, I don't want him on here. If he's going to be operating like that, he's going to be that reckless. I don't want to have anything to do with him. I also alluded to the fact, but let it be crystal clear here, that Jack Perry is apparently friends with the guys in the Elite. Okay? So, I would not be surprised if you were to tell me that once the Elite were able to get some type of word from Jungle Boy Jack Perry that, hey, CM Punk really does not want me doing this spot, and the way he was kind of talking to me, I picked up a great sense of hostility and a little bit of bass and some other stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if the guys in the Elite said, maybe we can kind of use that to our advantage. Why don't you try to see if you can bait him and see where that goes? Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what happened. I'm just telling you guys I wouldn't be surprised if. But the whole point of this is this. Now, they say age ain't nothing but a number. But I would like to believe in this day and age, especially with all the inflation that's going on, a person that gives a damn about their money, how they're able to afford their livelihood, how they're able to take care of themselves, how they're able to take care of their family, they are not going to let any individual mess up their money. So again, that goes back to the point that I made earlier, which is if Jack Perry wanted to operate that way, only thing CM Punk had to do quietly, because got to use his own words against him here, he's trying to run a business. Remember that? Okay, well, if you're trying to run a business, your face, your name, that's your brand, that's your business, then you're going to do everything that you can do to continue to stay cash flow positive. And if that means you got to talk to some upper heads in management and say, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, I don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. Don't even have him on Collision. I'm good, thanks. And that would have been the end of it. But that's not exactly the direction that CM Punk went in now. Obviously, there's multiple sides to a story. Somewhere in there is the absolute truth. We'll never really know, even if CM Punk finally does go on record and spill everything, and I would imagine he's probably not going to be able to. I would imagine Tony Khan is probably going to do some type of cease and desist or whatever, if the paperwork hasn't already been signed already, stopping CM Punk from talking about certain things in AEW, much like kind of what's going on right now with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, unfortunately, he can't really talk about certain things with AEW, right? Again, this is very multi-layered right here. I want to read to you the official statement that was put out by AEW/Tony Khan not that long ago today. It reads as follows. Bold words, statement from All Elite Wrestling and Tony Khan. All Elite Wrestling, AEW has terminated the wrestler and employment agreements between Phil Brooks, CM Punk, and AEW with cause, effective immediately. The termination was confirmed today by Tony Khan, CEO, General Manager, and Head of Creative of AEW. The termination follows a week-long internal investigation of an incident occurring backstage at AEW, all in London on Sunday, August 27th. Following the investigation, the AEW Discipline Committee met and later convened with outside legal counsel before making a unanimous recommendation to Khan that CM Punk be terminated with cause. Khan offered the following statement. Phil played an important role within AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of his AEW contracts with cause is ultimately my decision and mine alone. Of course, I wish I didn't have to share this news, which may come as a disappointment to many of our fans. Boy, is it, because I had covered this week's AEW Rampage just less than 24 hours ago over on the 401 Mania site, and as I was watching it, I couldn't help but home in on the read down for AEW Collision and for the pay-per-view. Again, no mention of Punk, No mention of Jungle Boy Jack Perry, because a lot of people are wondering, hey, where they mention what's going on here, and act like they didn't even exist, like they weren't even part of the roster and everything. And I know that for a lot of people, and I've been hearing it all week, a lot of folks that planned on going to this All Out event in Chicago, they were hoping that something was going to be worked out, and maybe in some form we were going to be able to see CM Punk. If it was a case where, hey, he's got to be suspended, but we'll let him at least do this because this is all about generating as much money as humanly possible. So we'll let him do this, but he's got to go back on suspension. Now I can only imagine how white hot that crowd is going to be when it comes to All Out tomorrow night. I would imagine that is going to be a very vocal crowd that's going to let their voices be heard in regards to the firing of CM Punk. We shall see. We shall see. Shout out to those of you that's going to be in attendance. Make sure you circle back to me. If you want to give me some bullet points, let me know. This statement would go on to say, nevertheless, I am making the decision in the best interest of the many amazing people who make AEW possible every week, our talent, staff, venue operators, and many others whose efforts are unsung but essential to bringing our fans great shows on television and at arenas and stadiums throughout the world. That is the statement. That's the statement. Now, there's much more than just reading this statement. Remember what I said at the top. Full context. Very important. Let's go back a year. The now infamous All Out Media Scrum that had podcasts. I mean, we had podcast after podcast after podcast. Just all from different walks of life, different parks, avenues, you name it, that were all coming in, talking about this moment. The level of disrespect that was there during that media scrum. Go back and look at how uncomfortable Tony Khan was during that medium scrum. He looked as though he was not sure what the hell to do, how the hell he could gain control, reel things back where it needed to be. He was made to look like, excuse my French, but he was made to look like a punk. Okay? Seriously. This is how he looked. Now, for those of us that actually work for a living, we are maybe an entrepreneur, okay? With us, we have our own company, or we've worked long enough. We know that if we act a certain way towards our employers, particularly towards the person that's signing our paychecks, we're going to face some type of disciplinary action right then and there on the spot. Are we not? Even if you happen to know that person signing your checks, you have a nice working relationship, or maybe you know them on a personal level, I would imagine that when you both are on the clock, no, you're not going to be able to talk to them like you normally would talk to them when you're off the clock. No, that's not going to fly. So you're looking at that media scrum and you're going, man, the level of disrespect that Tony Khan is going through right here. This media scrum is just going off the rails here. You understood from the side of CM Punk. He was hurt. He knew he injured something significantly to the point that he was most likely going to be out for several months, which he was. And honestly, what should have gone down in retrospect, it should have been a situation where he said, hey, look, not tonight. I love you guys. You know, I would normally sit down, give you all thoughts on my match, about the pay-per-view overall, and answer some questions, but I am really, really hurt right now. Something does not feel right with my body. I feel like I've greatly injured something. I need to get this checked out. I need to rest up. Not tonight. Not tonight. You know, something that Michael Jordan used to do after every single game, when the media was trying to talk to him, Michael Jordan would have them wait. If it meant they had to wait 45 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever, Michael Jordan never spoke to the media at great length after his games were over. Sure, you might be able to have him give you a 90-second soundbite after the game was immediately over, Bulls picked up the win or whatever, but to get that in-depth post-conference yakety-yak, Michael Jordan had you wait until he took his shower. That way he could compose himself, reflect on the game really, really well. Any nerves, any tensions, all of that would get taken care of. You never saw him give a 90-minute interview still in his jersey. He would wash up, he'd put on his best suit, put on his cologne, all that, looking so fresh and so clean, to quote one of my favorite Outkast songs. Okay? For CM Punk, that whole heat of the moment of that scrum, my whole point, y'all, that was strike one. I don't care who you are. I don't care how hardcore of a CM Punk fan you are. You got to remove your love, your affection for the man, and you got to say deep down to yourself, Lee, I hate to admit it, dog, but you know what? If I was running that company and I had somebody acting like that, I got to checkmate that behind. I got to checkmate it right then and there. No sooner, no later. I got to take care of my business. Because you have a message that you need to send. It's bad enough. And you've seen the clips out there. You've seen the Eric Bischoffs. You've seen the Jim Cornettes. You've seen the fill in the blanks that have taken their verbal shots on Tony Khan, calling him a chump, calling him a cuck, all kinds of stuff, calling him a punk, you know what, right? B-I-T-C-H, right? All kinds of stuff. Hey, when is this guy going to grow a sack? And when is he going to grab the bull by the horns and all of this? You go back to that scrum, the level of disrespect that was there. I don't care how frustrated CM Punk was and everything. There's a time and a place. That was not the time and the place. Out in front of the public, that was not the time and the place, unfortunately. We all can sympathize. We really can. But in retrospect, that wasn't the time and place. So that's strike one right there. If you're an NFL fan, I can't help but link this to Aaron Rodgers. And when Green Bay management was basically saying to him, hey, look, be part of the solution. Don't be the problem. Something else I had alluded to is CM Punk. That's great that he has this passion for professional wrestling again. That's great he wants to get out there, perform in front of the fans. That's great that he wants to make great positive change. Change that fans can really see, really experience, and really feel good about and everything. But as I mentioned off and on, and I mentioned it as early as this week, the sooner CM Punk realizes that he is essentially playing with somebody else's toys and thus is playing in somebody else's sandbox, much like with Vince McMahon and WWE goes, the sooner he realizes, okay, I can only go but so far. I'm not a minority leader, owner, majority. I got none of those. At the end of the day, I am just a talent. So as such, I'm only going to be able to do, but because at the end of the day, this ain't my promotion. But for whatever respected reason, if you were to pick my brain, having met CM Punk and just everything that I've gathered about him personality-wise from over the years, he comes off to me, and this is a fellow Chicagoan speaking about another Chicagoan, he comes off to me as an individual that is very passionate about when he feels he's right about something, And that at the same time, he's no pushover. You're not going to be able to try to... He's going to let you know right then and... No, you're messing with the wrong one if you think that... And he's a little bit old school from that standpoint. But here's the thing, y'all. We can admire that all we want. Times are changing. The times are a-changing. Some of your favorites involved in entertainment and pop culture, they had to switch their game up. And for some of them that switched their game up, they're getting more recognition, more respect, now more than ever. Look at Howard Stern nowadays. And I know a lot of people, they miss the old school Howard Stern. But now that Howard Stern has essentially matured and, now he's really acting his age, a lot of people are giving him props for, man, when it comes to interviews, this guy is freaking king. He really knows the right type of questions to ask and everything. And there are certain things, to my point, there's certain things, you can say and do in this day and age. There's certain things that you can say and do that you can't really, like you could 15, 20, 30 years ago. So he can feel the way that he wants to feel. He can continue to feel that way. But if he's trying to do everything in his power to continue to make that money, he's got to learn to adapt. Or, look, some people may say, well, he should start up his own promotion. He should do his own little company. Even when you're your own boss, you're going to come across hurdles. You're going to come across things that you don't like. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. This move by Tony Khan. Now, it's bad enough Cody Rhodes walked away from AEW. Just think about that for a second. And we kind of now know the circumstances a little bit about Cody Rhodes ultimately walking away from AEW and everything. And, Tony Khan essentially calling Cody Rhodes bluff, and the rest, as they say, is pretty much history. But for all intents and purposes, Tony Khan let Cody Rhodes walk. For me, I looked at that sign very significantly, and I said to myself quietly, man, if Khan is willing to let Cody walk out of AEW, then that tells me that Tony Khan has some type of backbone that if you push him just far enough, he's gonna because he strikes me as an individual that does not like conflict. Okay? Now bring that back to CM Punk. Two polar opposite personalities. CM Punk, he will be about that conflict. If he's got something he needs to get off his chest, somebody talks mad trash about him, he's going to get in their face, we got a problem. Whereas Tony Khan doesn't want the conflict, wants to delegate the responsibility of, hey, I need you to take care of that to somebody else. Some people can look at that and they can say, okay, that's kind of a leadership thing. Other people can look at that and say, nah, man, you got to set the tone. This is your company. You're the boss. You got to show how it's done. Go in there yourself and get your hands dirty. Really depends on who you talk to. Really depends on who you talk to. It's a matter of opinion on that one. Okay? But we can all agree these are two polar opposite personalities here that, as far as common ground, what clicked, what had them work well together for so long is the love and passion for wrestling, for the fans. So they were able to work off of that, but you can't. You just can't. There's no way you could continue to operate at the capacity that CM Punk was operating. This is a in-ring veteran. If we are to believe all the stuff that was being reported allegedly that happened with that altercation between Punk and Perry. And let me just say, in regards to Jack Perry, if you're going to risk serious physical harm like that, where you go through real glass, heaven forbid you get a serious laceration, then it's a possibility that we could be talking potential amputation. We could be talking about a blood clot. And if that blood cloud is not caught in time, woo, woo, okay? If I'm Tony Khan and all that, this is what doesn't make sense to me. And look, maybe it's still pending. But if I'm looking at everything that involved Jack Perry, I'm going, Jack Perry, no. No, I've got a responsibility to Time Warner / Warner Media Discovery. I got a responsibility to those guys. I'm not going to jeopardize, right? I've got a responsibility to sponsors. No. For you to be reckless like that, so you can get a spot over? No. This goes back to Tony Khan saying, look, you guys think you can do XYZ, but I'm the law around here. I'm the one that's signing your checks. You can tell me till you blue in the face who you will and will not work with, but as long as I'm the one that's signing you all's paychecks, I'm going to tell you, how's it going to be? On the one hand, you look at this move with CM Punk and you go, if you're the AEW roster, you're looking at this going, Jesus Christ, if he can do this to CM Punk, how am I any different? This should be a wake-up call, but it does not need to stop here. It does not need to stop here. There needs to be a meeting. If it already hasn't gone down yet, I would suspect something is going to go down at All Out. But if I'm Tony Khan, I'm getting the entire roster together between now, Wednesday's Dynamite. I'm getting everybody together. Get the ROH family together as well. I'm getting everybody together. And you know that video that's floating around? There's a clip of Tony Khan that's floating around where he says, basically, I'm tired. I'm tired of this bull. I'm not going to take it anymore. There needs to be that meeting where Tony Khan lets the entire AEW roster know. Enough of the bickering. Enough of running to the dirt sheets, giving them inaccurate information, giving them inaccurate reports about what's going on in our company. Enough with the fights. Enough with the verbal spats. If you all can't figure out how to make it work so that we can make money together and continue to enjoy this great ride that we've been enjoying thus far since creating this company, if you're going to continue to be part of the problem and not the solution, there's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. That's the Tony Khan that needs to surface. Look, think about it for a second. How many times did we hear about Sammy Guevara, getting involved in some type of altercation? Something had involved Eddie Kingston. I know something went down with Andrade. Something had went down, if I'm not mistaken, with Miro. Just the constant... that needs to stop. Get control of your company. Get control of your roster. This is an unpopular move. No mistake about it. If you're a CM Punk fan, you do not like this move. If you are a CM Punk fan and a fan of AEW, you are most likely in heaven seeing the return of CM Punk, the second coming as it was dubbed. You are in heaven. You probably don't like what had went down here, okay? But let's be honest. Let's be honest. Sooner or later, this was gonna happen. Sooner or later, come on now, deep down inside. Sooner or later, you knew this was gonna happen. The only question is, how was it gonna go down? Was CM Punk just gonna say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm good. I'd like a buyout or something. And they come to a mutual agreement, right? Like with Shannon Sharp and FS1. Right? We saw how that ended. Shout out to Shannon Sharp, by the way. Can't wait to see how he does it on ESPN. That's got to be a sweet gig. Show up on ESPN 2 times a week. That's it? And you still got your podcast? That ain't too bad. That ain't too bad. We'll see how it goes. But you're looking at that. If you're a fan of CM Punk, you're going, damn, this sucks. But deep down inside, you know. You just knew that this was bound to happen. It really does suck. Now, look at it from this angle. Look at it from this angle. This goes back to something myself and other friends in the podcasting world have been saying constantly, which is CM Punk never needed AEW. But it was an ends to a means. Hey, as far as continuing to stay cash flow positive, working very little dates and all that other good stuff, get a nice good cash grab, AEW was the place for CM Punk. But CM Punk did not need AEW. Here's the real kicker that's going to blow a lot of people's minds away. Not necessarily those that's been watching this whole AEW development from the very beginning, but a true wrestling fan, a true AEW fan, will honestly be able to sit back in their chair and say, Tony Khan and AEW never needed CM Punk. They questioned their self-value and all of that. Don't believe me, just really stop and think about how things were before CM Punk. They really did not need CM Punk. That's not me being a CM Punk hater. Again, if you're just tuning in. Big CM Punk fan. Met the man and everything. Got his autographs, all that stuff. But I'm keeping it real with you. Tony Khan and crew, they didn't need CM Punk. They thought they did. They thought that by having CM Punk, it was going to take them to that whatever heights, new levels, right? And yeah, we had a nice little tick in the ratings for the first little bit for Rampage. Y'all see the new norm now. Yeah, we've got Collision that's in rotation now, and we see how that's pretty much doing. Now that CM Punk has been let go, let's see what happens with Collision going forward. Is it going to be able to maintain? Is it truly because of one man that everybody is continuing to stick around for Collision, or is it an entire different story? We're going to find out in about a month's time where the average viewership is now that CM Punk is gone from AEW. We'll find out about that. Okay? But you look at how things were before Punk got there, they really did not need him. This is the point that I'm making. When you know your own value, you don't need for anybody else to try to help you justify or make you feel. If you know your worth, you go out, you freaking go get it. Go do the damn thing. Plain and simple. Again, they did not need him. He didn't need them. He needed their money just to continue to stay cash flow positive. The acting for him wasn't really popping where it needed to pop, was it? I mean, sure, he had some nice little stuff here and there. He had a nice little comic book run. He's got the heel show that's going on, but it's nothing. We're being real, right? We're keeping it 100, right? Let's be real. It was nowhere on the level of a Dave Bautista or a John Cena or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. In the very near future of Roman Reigns, it was nowhere near any of that. Okay? So this was a nice little move for him when it was all said and done. But AEW was fine. They really did not need him. I cannot stress that enough. So, now the question. What's next for CM Punk? I alluded to it on Wednesday. No, surprisingly, it's not CM Punk goes back to WWE. Contrary to how some people think they know where I'm at headspace wise. No, I actually hope he does not go back to WWE. We all know the history with him in WWE, and I know some people are going, surely it's different now because Endeavor, and, we've got Triple H Paul Levesque, who's pretty much head of, the talent, the creative direction, and everything. We got Nick Khan over there. Surely things will be different now, and Punk will be okay. I just can't help but think back to the circumstances surrounding his WWE exit. For him to be given his termination papers the day of his wedding, I don't see how you come back from that. I know they tried dancing around each other a couple of years back before Punk had even went to AEW when he was doing that FS1 show. I can't even remember the name of the show now. Shout out if you remember, you can jog my memory. It was him, Booker T, Renee Paquette. I can't remember the show. I remember watching a couple episodes going, this is pretty good. But somewhere around that time period, there was a little bit of talking. Feels like maybe WWE backstage. I could be wrong, though. But for whatever respective reason, the talking Punk did not feel that time had really healed all wounds. He didn't feel as though it was a new chapter. It was a new lease of life from the WWE end. He was a bit hesitant, had his reservations with some of the things that he was experiencing, so it had stopped. But at this point, do you go back to WWE? I believe in the whole never say never model in regards to pro wrestling, especially when it comes to WWE. But if you're asking me straight up, Lee, would you like to see him go back to WWE? No. Honestly, CM Punk has always struck me as a very smart man when it comes to his money. I hope that at this point, he just goes ahead and rather than be tied to one promotion, pull a Cody Rhodes. Hey, my services are available, but you're not going to have me exclusive to just your promotion. If you want me, pay me. You want me for multiple appearances for your promotion, for your TV show, pay me. I'll do it, but you're not going to have me tied down. I'm still going to go run around, do things at these other promotions, and that's going to be it. Now, it's interesting because AJ Mendez, his wife, she recently had wrapped up all her obligations with the WOW Women of Wrestling promotion. Shout out to those guys because we normally conduct several interviews with a lot of their talent over there and everything. Great promotion. Check it out if you are a big fan of supporting women's wrestling and all that. So her tenure with WOW is over, and there's some interesting quiet chatter, kind of speculation that's floating around there that maybe she could be heading back to the WWE. As some of the talent in WOW, even David McClain, had kind of alluded to the fact that AJ is moving on to bigger and better things, and you see some of the photos that's running around of her now. She seems to be in the best shape of her entire life. You're looking at where she is now physically, and you're going, wow, this AJ Mendez looks like she can kick some serious ass, as opposed to, when we last saw of her on the regular in the ring. So we'll have to see how that pans out. If it is going to be a case where she's going to be going back to WWE, I bring her up to bring this point, which is AJ will be the eyes and ears, and obviously she's going to be going back to Punk and directly, this is what's going on. I would imagine if it already hasn't happened already, I would imagine Cody Rhodes is talking to CM Punk and letting him know. I would not be surprised if maybe Cody was one of the main catalysts if CM Punk is to eventually go back to WWE. I would not be surprised if Cody Rhodes was one of the main catalysts that got that ball rolling to reignite speaking for Punk and all the necessary parties involved. But if you're asking me personally, I hope the guy doesn't go back to WWE. I would like to see him just pull a Cody, just bank on himself, because he always says, hey, I'm running a business here, right? He's running a business. His brand is his business. Just go out there, work for whoever. You want to do a brief stint in NWA, help take it to the next level, which would be awesome. I mean, seriously, how the hell Billy Corgan and CM Punk has not hooked up in all of these years, and just that baffles me, especially when Punk was out for damn near 6 years. I'm very surprised that him, and maybe something can happen in 2023 and beyond. We'll have to wait and see. But just close your eyes and picture that. CM Punk, Billy Corgan, 1-2 punch, NWA. Or picture CM Punk returning to Impact Wrestling, really helping take them. There is a company that you all gotta admit, as of late, like the past 2, maybe even 4 years, they've been putting out consistent, great content. Their Knockouts division, top notch, okay? That's a promotion that just, when it's all said and done, they've got one of the funkiest TV deals ever known to man, by partnering up, now being owned by Anthem and everything. But man, could you just imagine, under the right circumstances, man, if we can get a big name like a CM Punk that can really help bring eyeballs to the content, really help take us to that next level, especially as far as viewership, right? That would definitely help them. If you're Kurt Bauer and crew, MLW, if you're able to figure out a way to acquire the man services, right? So why not be a damn renegade for hire, I personally say, at this stage of the career, versus being tied down to one promotion. The only way I see him going back to WWE, like I said, AJ, Cody, that 1-2 punch, gets a limited date deal. Maybe he gets the Shawn Michaels package. We remember how it was back in the day with Shawn Michaels, even Jericho to a certain degree, having those limited dates. You know, get the Brock Lesnar deal per se. You know, unless we're doing something like that, I just don't think it's feasible here. But that's my thoughts in a nutshell about everything that's going on here with this whole CM Punk. So when the question is asked, right decision, wrong decision, there's definitely enough valid points that I made in there where you can say, hey, look, this firing of CM Punk, from a business standpoint and everything, you know, because look, when it's all said and done, you and I both know that in the real world, you can't just, when you have a disagreement with somebody, you can't get physical with them. You just can't. And if you've already got one fraction, if you've already been slapped on the hand, or you've already been disciplined once for having some type of a physical altercation, man, if that didn't shake you to your core, if that didn't make you say, man, I don't need to put myself in that position again because I don't want to mess that money up, if that wasn't a wake-up call, because it wasn't like this guy was suspended for, that pretty much said, okay, you're going to operate like this, okay, go get healed up and all that other good stuff, but you're going to be gone for a good minute. See ya. I mean, they went Thanos finger snap on him, okay? And yet somehow history has, right? But in the real world, in the real world, you can't do that. You can't go running around people you don't like. You got a problem with me? Getting all up in their face, getting physical with them and everything. You just can't. You just can't. Something else that did not help as well, and I got to make sure I mention this before we wrap this up. Something else that did not help this whole situation as well, which really amplified, and it really intensified things. Having these bad reportings, biased journalism that's going on from the Dave Meltzers and the Brian Alvarez's and anybody else that has a bone to pick with in regards to CM Punk and everything. I mean, these guys, clear as day. Look, for you guys that have your Wrestling Observer newsletter and all that, look, whatever you like for entertainment, I'm not judging you guys, but hear me out. As somebody that has been studying broadcast media and journalism for the past several years, right down to the point I'm currently in college majoring in the damn thing. I'm gonna have my degree. If I do this right, I'm hoping I'll have it next year, because I'm at this point, I'm only a few credits away from wrapping up. Take it from me, one of the things that has always been driven home for us in this respective medium that we're majoring in is always do your best to cross-reference your resources, your sources. Always make sure that whatever information that is being given to you, you are cross-referencing, and be confident in what you're getting ready to put out there. And we've seen some of the most porous and accurate reporting on a lot of the stuff that's been happening with CM Punk. And as a result of that, it has made a specific target of wrestling fans hate any and everything about this guy. It has painted him in a very, very negative light. And if I'm Tony Khan and crew, this is not about getting high fives from Meltzer, and Meltzer liked my pay-per-view. Meltzer gave all my matches 5 out of 5 stars. And, sometimes you just got to go, okay, you know what? I see and I understand now why Vince McMahon has operated this way with these folks that call themselves wrestling journalists and all that. I see why this promotion is doing this. I see why this promotion is operating that way as far as the accessibility goes. Okay, you know what? I need to go ahead and I need to follow suit. To the point, got to put a curb stomp on that crap. The days of running to the Meltzers and the Alvarezes, they only make matters worse because they have their own certain agenda. And that is a form of biased journalism where I come from. If they want you to think and feel a particular way about a company, promotion, individual, they're going to do it. They are going to do it. And we've seen so many examples of them doing it over the years. That is downright freaking wrong. That's why I got to give a shout out to House of Wrestling. He's coming along. He's doing it right. I got to give a shout out to my boy and Matt Coon. He's another one. Really takes his time. If he's got something he wants to put out there, he does it right. I got to give a shout out to Sean Ross Sapp. That's probably the greatest example. Look at that stuff that Sean Ross Sapp had put out with what he initially heard. The official, here's what really went down between CM Punk and Miro. Remember the crap that Brian Alvarez put out there? Yeah, we got Brian Alvarez going out there saying, but I spoke with 5 different sources and they all had, let's see, and it involved Punk? Let me see, was it Nick, Matt, Kenny, who's the other ones there? Hangman and I don't know, QT? Or maybe those your sources? Or Matt Hardy? Or Tony Khan himself? Who was your sources? Of course, he's not going to name them, but, right? So always question what you guys are seeing and reading. Even though I endorse some of the names that you had heard right now, you should always be looking at whatever is being reported, cockeyed and with an eyebrow raised. And before becoming so reactionary to it, try to do your best to hold off and wait until more information comes out. Hell, if you're the type of person that likes to do your own respected research, jump out there and see what you might be able to find out, and then cross-reference it to see if people or other sites are saying the same thing, if they're reporting the same thing from their respected sources. That way you can be on top and actually come off like you know what you're talking about when you do get ready to talk about it. Shout out to Christian179 who said Punk is so good at the go to sleep. He put his own wrestling career asleep twice. This is bad. This is definitely bad. Can he come back from this? I honestly feel much like, look, if you're a basketball fan, an NBA fan, you look at what's going on with James Harden and how this guy is constantly able to go, I don't want to play with this team anymore. I want to trade. And how there is always some company out there, some NBA team is what I meant to say, out there that's willing to acquire his services. Yeah, believe it or not, it's crazy, right? But there's a wrestling promotion out there, as we just talked about a few minutes ago. There's somebody out there that is willing to roll the dice and go, I want CM Punk. I want CM Punk. Yeah, the guy that just got a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame award. What was that? Cauliflower Alley Club or whatever? Like, the guy that just, okay, give me him. Give me him. I'll work with him. I can make something work with him. There's always a promotion that's out. This isn't a Tessa Blanchard situation. Who's the wrestler that had got in trouble a couple of years back, underage kids or whatever? I don't want to say the wrong name, but it was a wrestler from the UK, I think it was, and it's not basically on my point. It ain't one of those type of situations, right? It ain't that. It ain't a Tessa Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard said, what? It's not one of those type of situations. It's a matter of, okay, you know what you're getting yourself into, right? It's like I said Wednesday, a couple of nights ago. You ever came across somebody that you were very interested in dating, but you realize extremely early on that they are a lot of high maintenance? You go, man, they look good, they're smart, and they got all this, but man, they are such high maintenance. And to keep up with them, man, you got to be like 3 steps ahead, and it's pretty much. Eventually, if you're trying to make that work, it's a lot of high maintenance. If you want to make it work, a lot of maybe what you want to do and a whole bunch of other stuff, that's pretty much got to take a back seat, because it's pretty much all about pleasing them. Well, when you going to get your time? When you going to get yours, right? And it's kind of one of those type of deals where you really got to sit back and go, do I really want to deal with this? Is it really worth it? Yeah, I may get access to her car. Yeah, I may get access to her credit cards when I'm running low on money. Yeah, I may get, but man, she got a banging body, or he looks, whatever your cup of tea is. But then you go, is it really worth it? So for those wrestling promotions out there, okay, yeah, I've heard about, but is it really worth it? Jimmy Havoc is the one that I was thinking of. Thank you. Also, sometimes the story is limited, but some info is barely released on it, but it's still true, like Bray Wyatt's death. Yeah, exactly. So, it could go either way. It could definitely go either way, but there's some promotion out there that will definitely roll the dice on CM Punk. The only question is, who's that company going to be? We shall wait and see. I think we will know very, very soon. One thing's for certain to keep in mind, going forward, and I'm glad we're still on. The contract was terminated, right? AEW, Tony Khan, they terminated CM Punk's contract. So now the number one question that everybody needs to be asking themselves right now, because you got to have this in the rearview mirror now. You got to have this in the back of your mind. Punk is 100% healed up. We've seen him in action for the past several weeks and everything, really since Collision has started, and he hasn't missed a beat, okay? Everything is still there. He may have slowed down just a little tiny bit. He may have a little bit more gray in his beard and everything, but the man can still go. The man can still tell some very riveting stories. If you're asking me straight up, is Punk gonna retire? No, he's not gonna retire. he's let it be known through his respective friends that's put it out there that he's not interested in retiring, right? Way before this even came out, okay? So the man can still go. Might be slower, might be grayer, but the man can still go. Terminated from AEW, so what does that mean as far as how soon can he join another wrestling promotion, including the ones that can regularly be seen on television weekly? How soon can he join them? Is there some type of a clause? Think Conan O'Brien. Remember how it was when NBC had bought out Conan O'Brien from The Tonight Show? And basically, what was it, y'all? I think it was maybe a year, almost a year, that Conan could not do television. He couldn't just go jump to another network and all that. So it took us a good minute. If you're a Conan O'Brien fan, it took us a good minute before we finally saw him on TV and he landed the gig with TBS and everything. So you got to think right now, what's going on with that? He was terminated, but how soon can he jump to another promotion, or is there some type of a freeze? The other thing that you got to think of too, home in on that contract language, the fact that they said he was terminated with cause. So obviously they were able to find a loophole to get themselves in a position where, okay, we got him right here, as you know, per the contract, we got him right here. He's terminated with just cause. Now, any money that is supposed to be coming to CM Punk, okay, that money, is it now a forfeit? Has it been forfeited as a result of, hey, we were able to terminate you with cause because, right? That's the other thing. Think loopholes. That's the other thing that you gotta think of as well. There's a lot that is going on here, and I would love to be a fly on the wall to see this AEW contract specifically that CM Punk had signed with Tony Khan and crew, because that's going to tell us a lot of what we need to know as far as how soon CM Punk could possibly be back to wrestle for another promotion. As far as CM Punk at tonight's WWE Payback, no, I don't see that happening whatsoever. I'm willing to bet $100 on that. You're not going to see that. Okay? So, you know, it's interesting that we're hearing this news, but let's not. No. Those are all the things that you guys need to be thinking about going forward. The next 90 days is going to be very, very interesting. More specifically, this fourth quarter of 2023 that we're in is going to be very interesting to see how things play out with CM Punk going into early first quarter of 2024. That's going to tell us everything right there. But when you hear stuff like this person was terminated, you know, with just cause, yeah, I'm almost reminded of the Patriots player Aaron Hernandez. And when all the stuff had went down with him, you know, because if I remember right, he had just signed a multi-million-dollar deal with the Patriots and everything. And when the stuff had went down, obviously, right, we don't need to be here going over revisionist history. You can look it up yourselves for those of you not familiar with the name and everything and the story. But when everything had went down, Patriots were pretty much able to justly terminate his contract, and any money that this guy thought was going to be coming his way, you know, he thought he was maybe going to be able to use that money and, you know, fund his defense team for Cord and try to take care of his family. And, you know, there's always loopholes in these contracts. Now, I just told you about some of the loopholes from AEW side. I would imagine CM Punk and his camp of people are going to try to fight this, because if I were a betting man, very rare I bet, but if I were a betting man, I am confident in telling you that CM Punk has lost a significant amount of money as a result of everything that went down with All In and Jack Perry last weekend, there's some money that's up in the air. So best believe that Punk and crew are most likely, right? But think about this. If the reports were true that CM Punk had got out there to London and nobody was there to pick him up, I mean, just really stop and think about that for a second. Picture that being you or me. We had an important gig that we had to go to. We don't have to be involved in the wrestling business, right? Think of the profession that you're in right now. Pretend there's some type of a very important conference or whatever. And it was established weeks ago, months ago. Okay, look, this is where it is and everything. And, you know, hey, as far as the hotel you're going to be staying at, you know, which it's already paid for, you know, here's the address for that. Yeah, your travel itinerary, you know, yeah, look, this is what's going down. Just imagine if the arrangements were made. Now, I'm not saying it was made for Punk. That's his story to tell. But let's just say, for the sake of the argument, this report is true that Punk went out there, nobody was there to meet him. Just imagine if your employer had set up some type of a function and they told you that as far as your travel arrangements go, from the hotel, the flight or train, car rental, or, you know, somebody in a limousine service is supposed to pick you up. You get out there and ain't nobody there to pick you up. You get on the phone and ain't nobody picking up the phone because they know it's you. Your friends and everybody else, they're able to meet whoever's supposed to be picking them up, and instead you got to rely on, allegedly, the act of strangers to help you get to where you need to go. I don't know about y'all, but if that type of crap is going down for the person or the company that I'm working for, I'm going to be looking at them side eyes and going, maybe they're not as seriously invested in me as I think they were. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for me to maybe consider having some type of an exit plan. Think about that. Seriously, think about allegedly. There's a lot of stuff in this allegedly, right? But the one thing that is a fact, CM Punk terminated by AEW. Jordan, Billy Corgan might sign him, and he's saying, laugh out loud. There's actually nothing wrong with that. You know what? The NWA product, say what you will, the NWA product has been, you know, I wasn't a fan of Tyrus being the NWA champion. That was just a major turnoff for me, right down to the point I canceled my Fight TV subscription and all of that. Longtime listeners know this. I canceled it months ago because I just did not agree with that respected direction. Not to mention how political, outspoken Tyrus is. You know, it all just rubbed me the wrong way, and it was kind of one of those. But you know what? They still at that point had a pretty solid roster. Definitely a women's division that a lot of people were sleeping on. So, you know, that might be a laugh out loud for you as far as CM Punk and NWA, but no, that would actually be a significant upgrade. You know, talk to the people that's been watching the NWA product non-stop, because I stopped watching it almost a year ago, as of, I think, almost a year ago, I believe, as of this October. But from the constant chatter I've been seeing from other people, they still been doing a lot of stuff right. So I wouldn't laugh at that. That's actually, you know, and that's not me taking it personal. That's just me telling you straight up. That's actually not as bad as you think it is. Let's see here. Punk at Payback tonight. You know, it could be. It could be. I mean, look, if you guys want to speculate, right? I mean, you guys go on ahead and speculate on that one. Look, if you guys had appreciated this, because, I mean, we went all over the place. And, I mean, if there's a stone that I had left unturned, let me know now. But if you guys had appreciated this as we're wrapping up, do me a huge favor, smash the like button. Really helps not only supercharge content like this, but gets it out there to a more wider audience. Subscribe as well so you don't miss out on all the content we put out for you guys on a weekly basis. So we've got the WWE, speaking of which, we've got the WWE Payback pay-per-view event or premium live event that's going to be coming up in about 20 minutes on the Cock, NBC Peacock. That should be a fun joint. I will be back live covering premium live event fallout from that event. So if you guys are going to be around, you're more than welcome to tune in and everything. For those of you that's going to be checking this out for on demand and on the downloads, let me know if you agree with a lot of the points that I made, if you happen to disagree, and if you do disagree, like I said, at least now you got the full context. You really understand where I'm coming from. Maybe there's something that I'm not considering. Maybe there's something I did not think of that you want to bring to my attention. Or maybe you just feel entirely differently about the whole situation, right? Maybe there's a side that most folks aren't considering. Let your voices be heard, depending on the volume of comments. I'll definitely follow up. If not on the Payback post-show, I'll definitely follow up on Monday's RCWR show after WWE Raw goes off the air. Yeah? You can get at me on the X, Twitter, and Facebook at the RCWR Show. And until next go round, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you all next go round. Take care, y'all. Peace.